Here I am doing my very first album review for the channel, and of course it's going to be for my favorite band, Shinedown. Now for me, Shinedown is one of those bands that doesn't just release albums, they release statements. And every time they drop something new, the question is always the same. Are they evolving, or are they just perfecting the same formula? Because 8 might be their most interesting album in years, but I'm not convinced it's their safest. There's a song on this record that feels like it should be filling arenas right now, and there's another or a couple others that had me thinking, yeah, I've heard this Shinedown before. So let's break it down. I first discovered Shinedown back in 2003 when they were opening for Three Doors Down on the Away from the Sun tour, and since then I've been hooked to their music. I've seen them over 20 times, and pretty much every album they've released has been in my rotation for several years. But here's the thing. This is a band that's been around for over 2 decades now. They've grown as people, just like the rest of us do. So expecting Leave a Whisper over and over again, that was never going to be realistic. And that seems to be what I see all the time from people. And I think that's where a lot of the conversation around 8 is going to split here. Because if you're still waiting for that exact version of Shinedown from Leave a Whisper and Sound of Madness, this probably isn't going to be your album. But for me, this record is anything but safe, so let's talk about it. Now this is Shinedown 8. I bought it on vinyl here, which came with a signed insert, and the Shinedown CD Walmart exclusive with a bonus acoustic track. So before I get into the individual tracks here, I want to set the tone for how I approach this album. Like I said, I've been listening to Shinedown since Leave a Whisper, and I've already spent a lot of time with 8, about 10 to 11 full listens at this point. So this isn't really a first reaction. This is me trying to figure out where this album actually lands once the hype, the expectations, and the initial emotions settle down. And I feel like I've had the time here to reach that point. So the first track on the album is At the Bottom, and it says, "You think you know me, you know nothing at all." And right out of the gate, that feels like the mission statement for this entire album. This sets the tone immediately. It's got that core Shinedown rock sound that I've always loved, but it also feels like it's pulling us into something bigger. Now, one of the first singles from the album is Dance Kid Dance, and it's exactly what you expect in the best way. It's heavy, it's aggressive, and it just really moves. This was awesome to see live last year. Next up is another heavy track called Burning Down the Disco, and what stands out here is the bass line from Eric. It just sounds awesome. And Brent definitely sounds locked in vocally, and this just feels like another song built for the stage and arenas. Now, I actually first heard 365 the first time they ever played it for a crowd, and it was an acoustic performance with Brent and Eric, and I loved it right away. It's an emotional turn early in the album here, and it's a radio rock ballad dealing with loss with that kind of Def Leppard style to it. Next up is Young Again. It's a super catchy track with strong nostalgia in the lyrics, looking back at younger years and reflection. You also get an acoustic version of this album or this song on the Walmart version of the CD. Dizzy is the next song, and it feels built for the crowd, but not in a heavy way. It's got a rhythmic, kind of stomping, clapping, movement bass sound. Very classic Shinedown energy in a different form. After several listens, Imposter became my favorite song on the album. It's got everything working for me. A great groove, semi-heavy feel, killer bass line, and Brent is absolutely dialed in vocally here. Next up, Machine Gun opens with a sound that kind of reminds me of like My Chemical Romance and The Used, but then instantly snaps back into that Shinedown identity that we love. It's catchy, layered, and I find myself singing this one way more than I expected. Now, next up is a melodic rock ballad called Outlaw, blending modern country influences with Shinedown's core sound, and Barry's drumming really stands out on this one for me, and Brent, of course, is front and center vocally as always, and great. Straight up hard rock banger, safe and sound. It's got a slight industrial edge, a little punk energy, and one of the stronger early releases from the album. Next up, you have the acoustic Americana almost bluegrass influenced Searchlight. This one debuted at the Grand Ole Opry, and you can really hear that stripped down storytelling approach with this one. Bear With Me is a bit divisive, but I actually really liked it. It's got a catchy groove, solid energy, and it reminds me of bands like 311 in a way that I enjoy. Deep End is very electronic, very new wave influenced. Not my favorite direction personally, but I respect the experimentation here. Killing Fields feels built for arenas both musically and thematically, with a message about questioning the world around you. Back to the Living is one of the emotional highlights of the entire album. It starts with just Brent and a piano, and it's one of the strongest vocal performances here, at least in my opinion. When the full band comes in, it elevates everything without losing that emotion that you got at the beginning. Wide Open slows things down again with a strong melodic focus. Brent's voice carries this one, and it feels very radio ready. Next, So Glad You Asked is a late album standout where Brent really shines vocally and lyrically. Strong pop leaning chorus that still fits the Shinedown Arena sound. And just like with previous albums, Shinedown closes this album exactly the way they should. Just Brent with some strings on the song, The Pilot. And it just feels like a closing song that gives you that Shinedown sort of closing vibes. And like Brent always says at the end of every show, it's never goodbye, it's just till next time. And that's how I felt with the ending of this album. Now, narrowing this down wasn't easy for my top songs. Third place goes to Back to the Living. This is classic Shinedown emotional songwriting at its best, stripped down, powerful, and when it builds, it really hits for me. Second place is Machine Gun. This one just sticks to landing for me. The intro throws you off in the best way, and then it locks into that Shinedown sound with a really catchy, layered feel. I've caught myself replaying this one a lot and singing to it a lot. But number one is Imposter. Everything really clicks here for me. The groove, the energy, the bass line, and Brent is just on another level vocally for me. This is Shinedown at their most confident. So where does 8 land overall for you? For me, this is not a safe album. It's not trying to recreate Leave a Whisper, and it's not trying to live in the past. It's a band that's been around for over 20 years, and instead of standing still, they're still evolving. And that's going to divide people. If you're coming in expecting early era Shinedown on repeat, you're probably not going to love this. But if you're willing to meet the band where they are right now, there's a lot to appreciate here. It's heavy when it needs to be, emotional when it wants to be, and experimental in ways that actually surprised me on multiple listens. So I'll leave it with this. Is 8 Shinedown's best album? No. But is it one of their most interesting and honest albums in years? Yeah, I think it might be. And for me, I'm going to give 8 an 8 out of 10. I know, right? 8. Now, I want to know where you land. Are you loving this direction for Shinedown, or are you still chasing that older Shinedown sound? Let me know in the comments.